Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Warning. The following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Wisconsin Boy Scout Lane. The story of what exactly happened at Boy Scout Lane varies, but they all end with the same conclusion. A group of Boy Scouts dead on the road. In some stories, there was a bus crash with no survivors, or they were murdered by their bus driver, or they were just mysteriously vanished into woods one by one. Visitors have reported seeing a swinging body in the trees, feeling as though they are being watched, and finding child-sized handprints. Wyoming Devil's Tower. There's no scientific consensus on why Devil's Rock looks the way it does, but one Native American creation story attributes the landmark shape to a tragedy. According to the story, a large group of Cheyenne girls were attacked and killed by a bear. Two escaped and found help from two boys, who convinced the girls to act as bait. They climbed to the top of the tower and the bear tried to follow. The boys shot arrows at the bear, and it finally gave up, leaving scratches all the way down the rock as it slid down. Inside the creepy abandoned villages deep in the New Jersey Pine Barrens that were once bustling towns are now home to something much more mysterious. The remains of the Harrisville Iron Furnace stand in the Pine Barrens of Wharton State Forest, New Jersey. Lore ruins stick through the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Millions of years ago, southern New Jersey was washed by ocean waves. The sand were deposited in deeply shaped the human culture of 18th to 19th century. Today, just as the ocean left an inland shore, the land is marked by the remains of human industry, remains that carry myths and legends of the past. The area is said to be one of the most haunted places in America. The Pine Barrens were originally inhabited by the indigenous people of the Lenni Lenape tribe. Dutch and Swedish colonizers moved to the area to use the cedar and oak for shipbuilding. When the first iron furnace was opened, the area became instrumental in producing munitions during War of 1812 and the American Revolution. Many think of the American West when they hear the outlaws and ghost towns, but the Pine Barrens were just as wild. Take the story of John Bacon, for example, a loyalist guerrilla who massacred 19 men of the Continental Army in their sleep and was then captured in the Pine Barrens in what is considered as the last battle of the Revolutionary War. The most famous story is that of the Jersey Devil, a mythical beast born to a woman living in the Pine Barrens, which has reportedly haunted the region for hundreds of years. By 1869, the iron industry in the Pine Barrens had disappeared, and the once bustling towns there fell into decay. The forest soon began to reclaim the land that once an engine of productivity. The buildings and the railroads slowly disappeared over the decades, but the stories have lived on. Stories of the powerful, the disenfranchised, the natural, and the famous beings that made up this community are passed on to the hard work and passion of those who live there now. Here are some those legends that locals shared with the insider. Rich with history and legends, the Pine Barrens is perhaps the best kept secret of the East Coast if you're into haunted adventures. The Pine Barrens is a 1.1 million acres area of southern New Jersey. It is a heavily forested area covered in sandy, acidic, nutrient-poor soil that is well seated in the cranberries, orchids, and carnivorous plants. The region has 4 state forests, and because it is so sparsely populated, it has a reputation as a backwater region in New Jersey. It also littered with abandoned villages. Some are of a little more than amounts of the earth, while others are brick and stone remnants of the mills that made iron, paper, and terracotta. The residents here are very proud of their history and culture. You can find the Jersey Devil lurking in many parts of the Pine Barrens, including outside Lucille County book cooking. After being featured in an episode of Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown, it became perhaps the second most famous entity in the Pine Barrens. A statue sits outside Lucille's Country cooking on Main Street of Stamford Township. Lucille's is an institution and an excellent place to hear the lore of the land. Vicky works most days at Lucille's and it seems she hardly has a moment to spare. The roadside diner is frequented by many residents of the area, especially people who currently once work in the state parks and museums of the Pine Barrens, but it also caters to visitors with its I Ate with the Jersey Devil mark. Down the road from Lucille is the Cedar Bridge Tavern. The building marks the location of the last battle of the Revolutionary War, in which a Tory guerrilla John Bacon was captured by the Continental Army. Though the war has ended, the political instability led Quakers in the area to side with the Loyalists. History can literally be found all over the Pine Lines. This cornerstone sits between a tractor shed and a pan short walk from the Cedar Bridge Tavern. It marks the original property limits is engraved within the year 1743. The tavern is said to be haunted by the spirit of John Wildermuth, a former owner of the tavern. "You never know who's closing the door in here," said Renee Kennedy, a tour guide in the area. It is believed that this is the oldest intact bar in the United States. The best way to learn about history and lore of the Pinelands is to talk with the people who live there, who are generally kind and eager to share local belief or disbelief of the legends to varying degrees, but most are knowledgeable of the area's history. The Jersey Devil is the most famous, well-established myth of the Pine Barrens. It is said that his mother, Jane Leeds, became pregnant with the 13th child and fed up with having children, wished to be a devil. Though born normal, it is said that the child morphed into a demon with the head of a goat, the wings of a bat, and a forked tail.